Back from spring break. This is module 40, and I believe the last module on macro for you. Boy, you're missing out. Section 8's a good one. Maybe we'll do something on forex markets, etc. But for right now, module 40, this is the goods. So as you look at this, if this might be the only testable part of section 7, so if you have anything on like production possibility curves, et cetera, and long run growth, if there's anything on the test, it's going to be on this part. So as you look at long run stuff here, basically your long run growth can only be sustained if you're looking at positive things going on in your economy. And if you look at C1 over there, like the government investing in infrastructure. If you start looking at your production possibility curve and you're looking at things like expand this thing out, that's not like your short run business cycle type things. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about, are you making the overall country more productive as a whole? And the answer is you can do that if you do things like encourage that private investment in physical capital. If you're doing things like creating a better infrastructure for things so that logistics work. You can ship things in, you can get them around the country, you can ship things out. Those are things that are going to make your economy stronger. When you think about the production possibility curve and something coming like shifting inward, if you look over there, it says like depreciation, things like that. If things are old, wearing out, like a lot of our infrastructure was built back in the day, like Depression era time. A lot of that stuff needs to get updated and improved. And when it does, that's when your economy is kind of moving forward, becoming stronger, making things better for us today. When you're looking at what shifts that long run aggregate supply curve, don't shift it just to shift it. You really want to say to yourself, hey, let's look at this production possibility curve. If you're looking at this one on the left here, it says like what shifts this thing outward. To try to go from here to here, this is going to be something like having some new technology, something like that. Here, moving your production possibility curve, using more resources, using them more efficiently. How do you go from in here to out here? Well, you need to have maybe like we look at lower like unemployment type stuff is kind of like pushing this out, making things technology wise, moving that out. So as you look at trying to increase your production possibility curve is going to be necessary for us to see that long run growth in terms of our supply aggregate supply curve. When you look at your long run aggregate supply curve, yes, that thing can shift out to the right. That is true. But don't do it. Like that is last resort stuff. Almost always it's going to be some kind of aggregate supply shifting to the right, and then we're going to have our adjustment back to that long run curve. The only time we're going to see that long run really truly move is going to be something like investment. That might move the long run aggregate supply curve. If all of a sudden businesses are deciding to have more investment out there, that is going to push that thing over. But that question is just make sure that's your last resort. You looked at everything else and nothing shifted the aggregate supply curve, and you're like, I wonder. And then that long run one can move. When you look at that long run aggregate supply curve moving, increase in technology is this example. If you get that top left little box there, one does not simply shift the LRAS curve. That is true. You shift those short run ones all over the place. Shift it to the right. Okay, it'll bounce back to the left, blah, blah, blah. Do not shift that long run one unless absolutely necessary. You're looking at it going, yeah, they invested in physical capital. It's going to be, investing in the future. There's a technology change. There's more education happening. Something like that is going to make that long run one shift out to the right. This problem is the last problem that you had. You can look at that one, and then we'll put the answer in Google Classroom for you. Glad that you stuck with it. I know distance learning is not the easiest, but hopefully now it's over, and at least for the AP portion. And then we'll review some micro, we'll review some macro, and then we'll take your AP test, or you'll take your AP test a little later in the month. Thanks.